You sit at a desk. They sit at a desk. You have sales reports. They have book reports. You need supplies. They need supplies. In many ways, business is a lot like school. That's why your small business should take advantage of back-to-school deals available now at Staples. Like this week, buy one ream of Staples brand copy paper and get a second one absolutely free. Make back-to-school your business right now at your local Staples store.
While supplies last. Offer ends 9/8/18. In-store only.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Partners in Health and Biz with your host, Gail Dixon. Tune in every Saturday, 9 a.m. for great shows about obtaining and maintaining health, business, and finance. Learn from the experts here at pihradio.net. And now, broadcasting from the Partners in Health and Biz studio, here's Gail.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Welcome to my show. Welcome to Partners in Health and Biz. We are broadcasting live on the PIH Radio, www.pihradio.net. And today, in case you haven't been to the website, our show is Get the Facts About Alzheimer's Disease. Get the Facts About Alzheimer's Disease. And I have a very special guest joining me today in studio, and she is none other than Miss Ilene Rosenthal. Ilene is the program director for the Alzheimer's Association Greater Maryland chapter, where she provides leadership and direction for the development, implementation, and evaluation of association programs and services, public policy and advocacy initiatives. Prior to joining the Alzheimer's Association, she served as the deputy secretary for the Maryland Department of Aging, where she contributed to the development of public policy in the areas of aging and long-term care reform. And so we are going to have a wonderful show this morning. And without further ado, I am going to open up Miss Ilene Rosenthal's microphone and welcome her to Partners in Health and Biz. Good morning, Ilene. How are you?
Good morning, Gail. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. So happy you could join me this morning to get up early and to come on the air and talk to my listeners about such an important condition, disease, Alzheimer's. And so we definitely want to thank you for that. And so we know that you are the Deputy Secretary for the Maryland Department of Aging. And I'm sorry, you were, and you're currently the director for the program director for the Alzheimer's Association. So tell us about the Alzheimer's Association, Ilene. What is the mission of the Alzheimer's Association?
Okay, so first I just want to thank you for bringing this a very important topic to your listeners and for the time you're dedicating this morning. So the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to eliminate Alzheimer's disease through the advancement of research, to provide and enhance care and support for all who are affected, and ultimately to reduce the risk of dementia through the promotion of brain health.
Okay, and that's a lot for that mission to take on, for the association to take on. That's a big, big mission
it
there.
It is. But, research is the only way we're ever going to be able to put an end to this disease. And while people are still dealing with it and living with the challenges of it every day, it's very important to provide services to families that are affected. It's a tall order, heavy burden, so anything we can do to lighten that burden, we are very pleased to do, to help families, provide information, education, and other services. And then the other big piece of that mission is reducing the risk of dementia through promotion of brain health, which increasingly the research is showing that there very much is a lifestyle relationship, and there are things people can do that can lower their risk. So we feel it's very important to get that information out there and help people understand actions that they can take where they can really take control of their health and help reduce the risk of later cognitive decline.
Absolutely. So most of us I would say, know someone who has what we call Alzheimer's or dementia. But exactly, can you explain to my listeners exactly what is Alzheimer's disease and how is it different from dementia?
Okay, well, first let me say dementia itself is not a specific disease. It's an umbrella term that describes a range of symptoms, including decline in memory and other thinking skills, that are severe enough to reduce a person's ability just to perform everyday activities. Alzheimer's is a form of dementia. It is the most common type. It is a disease. It is progressive. It is a fatal brain disease that causes dementia symptoms, including memory loss, unexpected behaviors, problems with decision-making, even wandering. As I said, it's the most common cause of dementia and probably accounts for about 60 to 80% of dementia cases. And the other important thing to note is Alzheimer's disease is not a normal part of aging.
Okay, yeah, most of us think that that's what's going to happen. Eventually, as we age, a lot of folks believe that, well, it's inevitable. Maybe if you don't get Alzheimer's, if you don't come down with the disease in your 60s or your 70s, surely by your 80s and 90s you'll have Alzheimer's disease. So you're saying it does not depend on your age. There are other factors that would create or cause you to have the Alzheimer's disease.
It's like I said, it's not a normal part of aging, but age is the biggest risk factor. So the older one is, the higher the likelihood is that they could have it. For instance, if in people who are 65 plus, it's about 1 out of 10 people who would have it. But by the time you get to 85, it's closer to 1 out of 3. So it is associated with age, but it is not a normal part of aging.
Okay. I know my mother, she's 90, and she still is she's still fully functional. She has her apartment. She makes out her own bills and pays and takes care of her own financial information. Of course, we check and make sure everything is correct. But she's right there. She's fully together mentally, and so we haven't had to worry about her yet. So she's doing quite well. So I wanted to ask you, Ilene, we know about that Alzheimer's is all over. People all over the United States and other countries have Alzheimer's. In some countries it's not as much maybe. But how prevalent is Alzheimer's in the state of Maryland?
All right. Well, first let me talk about the United States. Nationally, there are over 5 million people who are 65 and older who are living with Alzheimer's disease. In Maryland, that would include 110,000 people. And unless there's a medical breakthrough to prevent, slow, or even cure Alzheimer's disease, by 2050, the number is projected to grow to 14 million nationally. So this is a big deal, and we are working very hard to see if we can reverse course on this.
Wow, that's like an epidemic. Oh, my goodness. It's like
it is
people
a
walking
crisis.
around not knowing who they are.
It is a public health crisis, and we are looking at ways to use the public health infrastructure to help raise awareness, help people understand what risk factors they may have some control over, and how they can take that control and try and change that trajectory.
Okay. And we appreciate that. That's great. What kinds of services, since we're talking about the Alzheimer's Association, exactly what kinds of services does the Alzheimer's Association provide for people, I guess not just in the state of Maryland, but in the United States?
Yes, there are chapters covering every part of the United States, and we do provide a lot of services. And the absolute worst thing I ever hear is when someone says, oh, I wish I would have known about you when I was a caregiver. So again, thank you so much for bringing this information to your listeners. So as far as the services, the most important thing people should remember is our 24-hour helpline. and that is a toll-free number, 800-272-3900, and that number you can call any time of the day or night and talk to a live dementia expert. And the questions can be anything about caregiving. It could be someone maybe who needs a list of services, adult daycare or some other service, or maybe a caregiver is having a particular challenge. Maybe she's worried because she sees her loved one is very agitated and she doesn't know how to calm him down, and she's just looking for some help and some guidance. So we can provide any answer to almost any question, even if someone calls and says, I think Dad, there's something wrong with Dad. We all know it, but he's saying he's fine. Is there someplace we can go to get a diagnosis? His doctor says, oh, he's fine, but we know better. We think something's wrong. So we have lists of geriatricians and neurologists and diagnostic centers. So really almost any question that someone might have, we can answer that. And it's 24 hours, and the staff who answer the phones, we have bilingual staff who can speak in Spanish, and other languages may also be accommodated. So it's a very, very important resource that people should just write down and attach it to their refrigerator so the number is there. Now,
okay, right.
As far as other services include things like support groups. We have over 60 support groups throughout the state. And, a caregiver going through this sometimes feels very alone and isolated. And unfortunately, what sometimes happens is when a loved one is diagnosed, sometimes the very close people in their network don't quite know how to respond or what to do or how to say, and inadvertently they do the worst possible thing, and that is to be less available and less present, and then they feel they're kind of standing there on an island by themselves. So support groups are a great way for caregivers to just be with other people, hear what they're going through, share what they're going through, and just get support from other people, exchange ideas, and it's just a wonderfully mutually supportive environment for people. And as I said, we have them all over the state. We even have some for younger onset individuals. We have some that are for people recently diagnosed that are not necessarily younger. So there are different kinds. We have a support group that's led by a bilingual Spanish language facilitator. We have a support group at Chase Brexton that is there for the LGBT community. So the support groups are just a wonderful place for people to go and get some support. Now, I want to talk about education programs. One of the biggest challenges people have as a caregiver is just not understanding the disease, because everything about this disease, it's not an instinctive disease. Everything that you think is the right thing to do is usually wrong. And, in the old days, we used to think if, Mom said it's snowing out in August, that the proper thing to do was to correct her and say, no, Mom, it's August, it's hot out. But we now realize it's better to go into their reality than to try and expect them to enter ours. And so if Mom says it's snowing out in August, you want to say, oh, let's go look at it. Look at that. It's so beautiful. Because if you argue, one, she might get upset, she might get agitated, and then 5 minutes later she might talk about the snow again. So it's not going to accomplish anything.
Right,
so our education programs teach people about the disease, how it progresses. We have about 10 different nationally developed education programs that some just talk about the basics, understanding Alzheimer's and dementia. We have one called Know the 10 Signs that really gets into the difference between, what's normal aging and what's not. So if how many of us have, walked into a room and said, what am I here for? And that's pretty common. Right. I've done it. We've all done
it. Especially when you're rushing, rushing around, not even concentrating, right?
But most of us are able to reconstruct, our steps and go, oh, right, I went to go get my wallet. and then go about your business. Well, a person with Alzheimer's probably cannot reconstruct their steps. Or maybe, we've all lost our keys. Sometimes we put them down and we forgot where we put them, or we have our phone. Where's our phone? And you have to call it from another line to see where it is.
Right.
That's okay. We do that, especially, like you said, when we're rushing around. But a